It sucks to be a football fan. Every single weekend, our entire world depends on whether some random 11 guys can score more goals than some other random 11 guys, and if they can't, our entire existence will transform into unimaginable suffering. But arguably the worst part about being a football fan is seeing your club spend millions of dollars on players who will turn out to be absolute flops. As a Barcelona fan, I still wanna stick my head into a burning oven every time I think about my club's transfers from the end of the previous decade. But then I say to myself, at least I'm not a Man United fan. Pretty much every single transfer this club has made in the last 10 years has been an absolute fail. And I'm not even exaggerating. Since 2014, no English club has spent more money on transfers, and yet barely any of them were actually successful. But how is that even possible? Why does every new Man United player look like he suddenly forgot how to play football? Are they only signing bad players? Or is the club cursed? Well, to understand what is wrong with Manchester United, we need to go back 12 years. It's May 2013, and Sir Alex Ferguson has just announced his retirement after 26 years as a Man United manager. He has won many trophies, developed many great players, but he has one last thing to do: pick his successor. He went for David Moyes, who has been doing a great job at Everton for over a decade and is now ready to take over a team that has won the Premier League. But there is one major problem. Man United are already kind of shit. Apart from Robin van Persie, Michael Carrick and Wayne Rooney, who are in their prime, the squad is full of veterans on the verge of retirement and youngsters who are supposed to replace them but just aren't good enough. I'm convinced that if they had any other manager, there's no chance they would have won the Premier League. It was Sir Alex's brilliance that masked the bigger issues at the club. But after he left, it was evident that the club needed massive changes. But it's Manchester United. They stuck with one manager for 26 years. Surely they're gonna give the new guy some time and opportunity to build a new team, right? They sacked him after just 10 months and replaced him with someone who was quite literally the polar opposite of Ferguson. While under Ferguson, United excelled with fast and direct attacking football, Van Gaal's philosophy was more about control, fewer risks and shorter passes. To implement his style of play at Man United, he needed to bring new players, and his priority was to sign a world-class winger. He broke the transfer record for Ángel di María. In his first few games, Di Maria was absolutely exceptional and the fans quickly fell in love with him. But then, Van Gaal got a genius idea. Let's play him out of position as a striker to make him miserable. He lost his form, confidence and respect for Van Gaal. He joined PSG after just one season at the club. However, they have quickly found his replacement. They signed Anthony Martial from Monaco. You probably don't realize it today, but back in 2015, Martial was one of the most promising young talents in the world. He was the Mbappe before Mbappe at Monaco. The expectations were huge, but he was never able to fulfill his potential. He had a few okay seasons, but he was never consistent. He never had the hunger and discipline to keep improving. But let's go back to 2016, where Van Gaal splashed over 300 million euros on new players. But despite bringing United back to the Champions League and winning the FA Cup, he is sacked after just 2 years. But okay, Van Gaal was a difficult character to deal with. His relationship with the players, the fans, the press, and basically everyone wasn't great. So replacing him with someone younger, more charismatic, with a similar style of play, who would continue building on the foundations Van Gaal had already laid, would make sense. But instead, the club appoints Jose Mourinho, who not only gets rid of basically every Van Gaal signing, but splashes another 105 million for Paul Pogba. If you ask any United fan what they think about Pogba, this is the answer you will get.
He's the biggest fool in Manchester.
If you want to get the best out of Pogba, you need to build a system around him. If you give him the freedom to express himself in the midfield, he's a joy to watch. But in a dysfunctional team, he's a pain to watch. At Juventus and in the national team, he had a clear role that suited him. But at United, he never did. Mourinho's first season was okay. He won the Community Shield, the FA Cup and the Europa League. He's still a few signings away from challenging for the title, but it's a decent start. But then, Zlatan tears his ACL. Mourinho has to buy a striker to replace him, so he pays 84 million for Romelu Lukaku. Lukaku's first season was quite good, but after the World Cup, he played like Højlund on steroids. He couldn't run, he couldn't control the ball, and most importantly, he couldn't even score. And before he even had time to return back to his best, Mourinho was sacked and replaced by Solskjaer, who preferred more athletic strikers, like Rashford or Martial. He lost his place in the starting lineup and went to Inter in the next summer. But let's go back to January 2018. United are second in the table just behind City, but they are still nowhere near their level. So Mourinho needs to sign a star player that would close the gap between them and Man City. So he signs one of the most dangerous attacking players in the Premier League, Alexis Sánchez. Out of every single Man United flop in their modern history, Alexis is probably the biggest one. He just didn't do anything. Every time he was on the pitch, he disappeared. His impact was pretty much non-existent. At Arsenal, he was unbelievable, but he was frustrated with their lack of ambition, so he left. But after his first training session at United, he literally called his agent and asked whether it's possible to terminate his contract and return to Arsenal. He couldn't stand the toxic atmosphere in the dressing room. He was never happy at Manchester United. Mourinho finished the season in a second place, which according to him was the biggest achievement of his career. However, he knows he needs to sign more players to take the team to the next level. He begs the board to sign him a new centre back, but they don't. Mourinho is sacked 4 months into the season. The club legend Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is brought in as an interim manager. No one really expects anything from him, but in a very short time, he improves the mood in the dressing room massively, which also brings some results on the pitch, so he signs a permanent contract. But after he becomes a permanent manager, Man United are suddenly back to being absolutely shit. It looks like it is only a matter of time before he's gonna lose his job. But then something shocking happens. United signs a player who actually knows how to play football. Bruno Fernandes is not only an exceptional player, but he also stands out as a person. He doesn't depend on the environment around him like for example Pogba, but he is able to transform the environment himself. He not only improved Man United by his performances alone, but he raised the level of performance of pretty much every single Man United player. Players like Rashford and Martial played the best football of their career after Bruno arrived. And mainly thanks to him, United finished 3rd and 2nd in Solskjaer's first 2 seasons at the club. The club is finally making some progress, but I still need to make that one final step to challenge for the Premier League title. So they bring back the prodigal son. It would be very harsh to call Cristiano a flop. I mean, at 37, he still had a better season than most players in their prime. However, as great as his individual performances may have been, the whole team got much worse after he arrived. With Ronaldo in the team, he was the focal point of the attack. Everything was about him. While players like Rashford, Martial and Greenwood previously excelled in a direct and fluid attack, now everything has changed. But you can't really blame Ronaldo, as it's not really his fault. United had not signed him because they needed to buy a striker or because he would fit their long-term project. They had signed him so he wouldn't go to Manchester City. They also signed another attacking player, Jadon Sancho. From the start, he couldn't adapt at all to this new, dysfunctional attack. But then Ronaldo left, managers were replaced, and he still couldn't adapt. Sancho is probably an example of a player who had the talent but didn't have the right mindset and attitude. After an awful run of form, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is sacked. He is replaced by Ralf Rangnick, who is supposed to become the new sporting director after the end of the season. Rangnick has a very clear long-term vision, but it would be naive from anyone to expect that he will solve United's short-term problems as a manager, especially since he hasn't even coached for the previous 5 years. After the end of the season, he says, "Screw it, I only live once," and leaves the club entirely. In 2022, the club enters a new era, the era of Erik ten Hag, another Dutch manager who had a lot of success at Ajax with a short passing game and pressing. However, at United, he inherits a team that was built for direct football and counter-attacks. To rebuild the team, he brings many of his former Ajax players with him, including Antony. Antony scored 3 goals in his first 3 Premier League games, only to score just 2 in his next 60. He never really settled into the physicality of the Premier League, and his performances were so awful he became the biggest meme in the football community. If you want to know more about how Antony became the biggest meme in football, check out this video. But even though Antony played like a broken fidget spinner, Ten Hag's first season at the club was pretty decent. He won the Carabao Cup and got United back to the Champions League. However, there are much bigger expectations before his second season. The board believes in his project, so they give him more money to spend on new players. Even though Ten Hag brought a lot of new players, the core of the team is still the same, so he knows he can't play the same football he had played with Ajax. He tries to adapt, he tries to find some ideal mix of possession and directness, but he can't find the right balance. Over time, the team becomes more and more chaotic. The results get worse, he is under enormous pressure, and eventually he can't handle it. He is sacked and replaced by Ruben Amorim, another manager who had different system and structure. And guess what? Nothing has changed. United keep discovering a new rock bottom week after week. Soon, Amorim is gonna be sacked, a new manager will come in, buy more players, and still nothing will change. Man United are still gonna be shit. Since Ferguson left, they are stuck in this never-ending cycle. They are shit, so they sack their manager. A new manager comes in and signs new players. However, Man United are shit, so he needs time. But the results are bad, fans are frustrated, so they sack him. A new manager comes in, he has different ideas, he wants different players, and he needs time to rebuild the team. But the results are still shit, so he is fired before he can change anything. This cycle continues over and over again, but managers come and go. That happens at every single club. It's very rare that someone stays at a single club for 26 years, like Ferguson. But that's why clubs appoint sporting directors. Their job is to define the club's long-term strategy and appoint managers who fit into that strategy. It's not like they are signing bad players or appointing bad managers. Mourinho had won a title at every club he managed before he went to United. Ten Hag has won 3 times more titles in Netherlands than Arne Slot, who is currently doing a great job at Liverpool. Amorim has won Sporting their first title in 20 years. Without any long-term plan and with a toxic culture around the club, they can appoint Guardiola or Klopp, they can sign the best players in the world, but nothing is gonna change.